But
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dissonant Waves. I'm Dominic. Ritz and Trix are here,
hello, hello,
as
hello.
always.
I overslept a little bit.
I was late coming in as well, don't worry about it. But it's episode 87, so we're used to it, hopefully. Things happen.
Yeah.
It's been raining non-stop over here on the east coast of Australia, and whilst I'm not flooded, everyone else is.
In the Midwest of America, it's been raining as well.
Yeah, I'm recording in a thunderstorm as we speak.
Good thing those are the only two places in the world that are having bad times right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got some albums to talk about this week.
Yeah.
Anyone want to take a guess as to what they are?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Music sucks.
Oh shit, Trix, do you want to guess it? You want to guess an album?
Yeah. Yes is close to the edge.
Yeah, but you missed the joke.
Oh yeah. I'm still waking up. You're gonna have to give me a second.
The answer is yes, close to the edge. I'd be like, yes, you're correct. Anyone else? Any other guesses? How about the Gang of Youths, Angel in Realtime?
Dominic, if we had an actual viewer base for this podcast, it would have all been lost after that joke.
As it should be. Yes.
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 Starting from fresh.
Yes, close to the edge. Gang of Youths, Angel in Realtime, and Beach House, Once Twice Melody. Once Twice Melody being, of course, interesting because half of it was released in 2021, and the other half released in 2022, and as a full album this time as well.
Interesting.
4 EPs make an album.
Well, I guess do we want to start with that since we're kind of already gone on the
Sure.
track for that?
Let's all go to the Beach House.
Yeah, I really do not have much to say about this album.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so like ethereal and dreamy, and like it's dark dream pop, and I love it.
It just didn't hit me. Maybe if I come back to it, but yeah, I just couldn't quite click with it.
Like,
See, I'm on the completely different side of the spectrum there to Trix because I mean, you give me some good dream pop. I love that shit. I mean, obviously, I brought Japanese Wallpaper onto the podcast, in which I was a bigger fan than you two. Cigarettes After Sex's debut album, I was actually a pretty big fan of, even if it wasn't one of my favorite albums of that year. Other artists that have started to use it, like Yumi Zuma and Hachi.
I've been a huge Purity Ring fan for years.
Yeah, Purity Ring as well. And I mean, Beach House, whilst I still probably prefer Japanese Wallpaper and stuff when it comes to my dream pop of choice, when it comes to who's probably actually considered, like, I guess you can't really call it. I guess I was gonna say Titans is probably a good word for it. It's Beach House. They've been really dominant for the genre for the past however long that they've been doing this tour.
Like, basically like over 15 years. I mean, what can I say? I was a gay kid in high school 10 years ago. Like, Teen Dream and Bloom were albums that were there. They were around quite a bit.
I mean, they have one of the biggest samples done in hip hop history was when Kendrick Lamar, it wasn't like he did it, it was his producer did it, sampled Silver Soul on Money Trees. That's like a very well known sample.
Yeah.
So it's like this is a band that's been around for a while, and it's kind of like this is usually the point in their career where it's like, all right, well, their best albums kind of already been considered and stuff like that, or stuff like most artists that do it when they're after 15 years. It's just kind of like, all right, well, now I'm just happy to get more music from them. But their glory days are probably a bit gone, but they're still doing it.
Yeah, they're still having a good time at it. Like, I don't think this is like a perfect record or anything, but I do think a lot of songs here are really good.
You put this on in the background and it's really nice, and that's how I actually started listening to this. But then I actually started to listen to it with the fucking headphones on, and it's just even better. Like, there's all these little subtle things that happen in the production as well that you start to notice when you actually do listen to it with full focus,
Mhm.
and it's weird because this is a thing called dream pop.
Right, and like you
Mhm.
think of
Like,
Beach House, you think very synthy, very like cinematic, and a lot of that's there. Like they have a lot of emotion within their songs, but the thing that also struck me about this album was how different instrumentally a lot of the songs seem to be. Like some were more acoustic based, some had more like like electric guitar solos in it,
Mm.
and it didn't like the soundscape is similar, so that some of the songs might sound the same, but it really is more diverse than say a Big Thief album, or at least the Big Thief album we listened to. I think.
uh,
Yeah.
Babe is not more diverse, but I think it is a lot more coherent.
Like a song like Pink Funeral is completely different than I don't know, New Romance or something like that. And like there are songs
I
that were
wouldn't say completely, but yeah, they are definitely distinct from each other.
and like, there are songs that were distinct on Big Thief. Don't get me wrong. I just
Yeah.
feel like this has been kind of the reaction I've seen to Once Twice Melody has a similar reaction to what I thought of Big Thief, in that people like Fantano thought that Once Twice Melody kind of ran together and it was a lot to process.
Mm.
And that was my thought about New Dragon Warm Mountain, Dragon New Warm Mountain. I Believe in You.
I
That
mean, I personally probably prefer the Big Thief album. I just like I like Big Thief a lot. I'm just gonna be biased if I want to be biased, because
sure.
why can't I fucking be biased? But it's I don't really want to compare it, despite it like being what I'm going to say being something that's making it worth to compare. I think both those albums are really close together in how much I enjoy them. But I feel like it's just like a bit hard to compare. It's like there's not really much to contrast, but yet there is kind of a bit to contrast because like the
Mhm.
fucking different genres. It's indie folk and then dream pop. They don't sound similar.
No.
Like I wouldn't mistake a Big Thief song with a Beach House song.
Oh my god. Imagine if you could.
Hmm.
You want to
But
say
I
something,
reckon this
Tricks?
is probably Trixter. You gonna say anything or?
I really don't have much to add because this just went in one ear and out the other.
That's fair. Anyway, Ritzy, you were saying?
Well, if Trix is gonna have a nap, maybe Trix should have put this on while napping and seeing how it worked.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
But yeah, as I was gonna say, like we're going through two double albums now here, and in both of them, personally, just in my part, I don't really care if you two disagree. I think we've gone through two double albums that just fit as an album. Yeah, they probably could be cut down a little bit. Maybe there was just a bit of putting in, putting in more for the sake of it. But it's also kind of like I'm enjoying these enough that more isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
I would say this is probably actually the most I've enjoyed a Beach House album. Not in ever, but for a while. I mean, Bloom is a pretty good. Well, the Bloom and Teen Dream, as you're saying, yeah, there's some
Yeah,
pretty good albums.
those were the albums, you know, for them. Like they had
Yeah,
other ones that were successful, but at least as far
but
as
like
the kids I knew.
r slash indie heads was absolutely praising Seven and going like, oh, look at like songs like Drunk in LA and shit. And outside of Lemon and Glow, I that album just kind of like was there. It was fine, but it was just kind of there. But a lot of people were praising it just because it's Beach House. And Beach House is going to be a lot of people's favorite artists,
Yeah.
especially since like you were in high school and stuff when the stuff came out, and a lot of the a lot of the people that would be following into this kind of scene, like the whole indie heads kind of style. I guess I know, just getting very generalized here, but there's going to be a lot of people around our age and stuff like that who grew up with Beach House, and they're going to obviously still be big fans of Beach House. And I mean, they haven't done really anything controversial in their lifetimes until like 3 days ago when they announced they're collaborating with Kanye.
Did they really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's the Instagram post from Kanye West, and it's Beach House in the studio.
Jesus Christ! All right.
I
I guess he heard Once Twice Melody and was like, "Holy shit!"
remember My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy moments on that. It was literally he listened to Bon Iver's Blood Bank EP,
I do
and it
want
was
to
like
go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then it was like, all right, well, I'm getting Bon Iver on this record now.
I will say
That's it.
it's interesting that we listened to this for a couple of reasons, considering every episode we've done so far has had a double album on it this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it? Let me actually let's see if I can dispute that, but I think you're dead fucking right.
Captain Beefheart, the Freeland remix album,
Yeah.
the Shaky Graves
Shaky
EP,
Graves is a double EP, I guess, but yeah, that
but it
is
was
true.
like an hour long and like 20 tracks. So
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
and then Big Thief and Beach House. So we've covered a lot of them. And then the other thing too I think is cool is that, like Hikaru Utada, Victoria Legrand in Beach House is like the niece of Michel Legrand, the famous French composer, and so like there's this, I don't know, this transference of like music legacy through her in a way that I think is interesting. Which, you know, it doesn't really have much to do with her. She could just be she is talented on her own. It's not a question. But you know, the I just think kind of the parallels that I didn't even see when I chose this.
I mean, when you go on to like, they have musical parents and stuff like that, and they're talented on their own. I mean, yeah, it's true. It's true. Most of that is usually like they're kind of brought up to kind of be into music and have to learn this from an early age. So it's kind of like, yeah, you'd expect most of them to be somewhat talented. Although granted, you never really hear much of a musician's less talented child. So
I mean, yeah, but like, you know, some of
Yeah.
them maybe become famous because their family was just so famous. You know, some of them are talented in their own right, and some of them you don't even know about it until you actually look into it.
I mean, also some also just become more famous than their parents ever were.
That's true too.
I mean, Angus and Julia Stone here are pretty big in this country. I don't even know how big they are overseas, but like their parents were pretty like big musicians, but not like huge on radio or anything. They were just like that was kind of their career.
Yeah, Nancy
But
Sinatra is
no
almost as
one
famous
knows
as her
no
father.
one yeah, and like no one knows who the fuck the parents are there.
Right.
I mean, there's other cases as well, and a lot of the time it's like, oh, you gotta look into it. It's like, yeah, and I hate that whole kind of like, oh, this indie musician's kind of like only popular because their parents are popular type of shit that happens. Just because it's like, well, yeah, if fucking I don't know, if fucking Freddie Mercury had a goddamn child, he would be one of the more popular musicians today.
Yeah.
Probably. I would love to have seen that. But
Like, it's just that's just how it works.
I mean, there's a reason John Lennon's kid's pretty famous. At least one of them, if not
Right.
two of them, right?
Yeah.
But no, I guess I don't want to. I didn't want to dwell on it too much. It's just I feel like I had to acknowledge it at some point. Like there is a legacy there, and it seems to be a common trope, like you said, of like this generation of like indie pop people. Kind of like, are they really indie? Do they have some help, etc., etc.
I mean, who really fucking cares? Like,
It's good music. That's what it is.
yeah, it's like going into
Yeah.
the term quickly with industry plans. Like, there are actual general like criticisms at which you can do with the term industry plan. Mostly if their backstory is presented as something different. But it's like,
Right.
yeah, the music's good. Like that's the whole fucking Lana Del Rey shit. That was
Yeah.
the whole like, oh, born out of the trailer type of shit. And it's like, no, actually, your fucking father was head in the fucking record label. You got to deal like that.
Yeah, and it's harder and harder to do that now when in the age of the internet, when you can just look up somebody or like look up their photo and try to find them
Yeah.
10 years ago, 15 years ago to see is this true or not.
It's like I don't give a shit if the backstory is true or not. I just want good music. That's all.
I mean,
We're
I
all
like
gonna
good
fucking
music.
we're all gonna die in the fucking climate wars anyway. You don't need to just bullshit about the backstory. Just give us some music to die to. That's all I want.
I think Beach House
I
did
can
that.
I can vibe with that.
I think Beach House did that. Pink Funeral played at my funeral.
Yeah, no. If Beach House is playing when the inevitable heat death happens, it'll be a vibe.
Yes.
In fact, there's probably already an animation out there somewhere that someone's done on YouTube of the world absolutely burning up in flames, and they put Beach House over it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
hope.
it's like, I don't know. some nuclear explosion from some movie or something like a big.
It's probably like some 19-year-old old girl is just like sitting on a hill, does a sigh, fucking takes in a breath of a cigarette, is just watching over there, and everything's like suddenly on fire kind of behind, and then the whole solar flare fucking goes on, and then fucking, because everyone's like, oh, what Beach House songs did I use? It's always fucking space songs, so space song is playing over there whilst everything burns up in flames, and then there's just black credits with white text as animated by someone who's probably called like Pinky Ace 942, and you just watch it 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
That is suspicious but accurate.
I mean, I guess if I had to criticize this album at all, I do think that a lot of the songs sound like enders. Like, being 4 EPs put together, I guess you might have some of that. But I feel like some of the songs where they're placed, it does feel a bit like, oh, this could have been the finale. This could have been a finale. But it's definitely not. Like, Runaway is a good example.
Yeah.
Runaway I could see being on another album, the last track, kind of like summing everything up with this nostalgic feeling, when it's really kind of like not even halfway through the album.
I'm just wondering why people were surprised at the Kanye collaboration when Beach House put out a song called Runaway.
That is an interesting connection as well. I thought about that specifically before I knew they were actually collaborating.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think this is like Black Country level throughout this year, but I think this year has started off with some really fucking strong albums, which is really good. You know, we'll talk about the Gang of Youths later. The Big Thief I really like. Obviously that Black Country. Just trying to remember if there's anything else that we're kind of talking about. I mean, even some of the weaker ones that we've covered this year haven't been too bad. I mean, Foxtails, if that's one of the worst ones we listen to, that's still pretty fine.
Yeah, and you even said you were surprised how much you liked the Hikaru Utada album.
Yeah, that one, which, like I said, that one's probably even more than the Foxtails. So it's a pretty good start, and I think we've still got like quite a lot of other albums to come out this year. And I know we're going on a bit of a fucking tangent, but it's like, I mean, I guess it's not, because the artist I'm about to talk about to kind of implements a bit of dream pop when they can. Like, we got the Fan Club Wallet album coming out on May 20. I'm fucking hyped for that.
Yeah,
I reckon that's gonna be the big one. It's like, yeah, I can't wait till it comes out. I obviously got a bunch of other singles coming out from other artists that just kind of happen. Gucci's been putting out a bunch of other singles and stuff. It's looking to be like a really fucking good year.
Yeah,
and I can't wait for it somehow to just like get really disappointed. But then we'll just keep going back to this Beach House album, and everything will be okay.
I mean, I did not expect to pick so many 2022 albums already and have so many more in the hopper when like we were getting back on track with this podcast again. But here we are. Like, I'm not even like through anywhere near done with my list.
I'm kind of in the opposite situation. I've got a lot more old stuff I want to cover,
which is fine. I'm gonna go back to old stuff eventually as well. But there's just so many albums that came out so quickly. I want to make sure it's not like last year where I'm like shoving in Tune Yards at the last second because I always wanted to cover it.
Understandable.
I haven't really got much else to say about this record, but it was definitely a very lovely experience to listen to. Beach House at their worst still gives kind of comforting vibe to go through, and this isn't at their worst. This is at their pretty good. So yes. you can imagine just kind of how comforted I was listening to this.
I would put this in the realm of like the big ones of like Bloom and Teen Dream. I don't know if it necessarily hits those exactly, but I do think it's a return to form. And I really enjoyed listening to it. It's a great album to listen to in the car, when it's sunset, when it's becoming nighttime. It's just a good album to cruise to and just let it kind of.
I do hate that it fucking cost me $30 though to fucking buy the CD for this, but I did buy the CD. I bought it with the Gang of Youths CD before we had even announced that we were doing these albums, and it came with the poster. And that's all.
All right.
That's
my poster boy.
That's one legacy artist from high school that I've covered that has a new album out. There will be more.
Oh boy.
Ooh, any Any standout tracks?
Pink Funeral and Through Me are a very good start. I like Masquerade as well. Title track I would actually say is it's not my least favorite or anything like that, but I feel like if there's any description of when it does get a bit like, okay, what the fuck are they on about here? That's that's it.
For me,
Yeah.
I like the first almost half of the album. I think around like New Romance and Over, it kind of dips a bit for me. But I think my favorites are somewhere like Pink Funeral, Superstar, Once Twice Melody. I really like that opener is so good. Like that first EP is really solid. But then I think like Over, New Romance is probably my least favorite stuff. And then it kind of just ramps back up. Modern Love Stories is a really great closer. Tricks, I think it's
Tricks is not gonna happen.
Yeah. I really don't have much to say. It was enjoyable. It wasn't the worst thing I've heard. So,
Tricks, when was the last time you had? When was the last time you had definitive favorites and least favorites?
Last week I had a bunch of favorites and least favorites.
That's fair. I guess I don't remember right now.
And it's just for this one where I really don't have definitive favorites and least favorites this week. So.
Okay, now it's on.
Don't worry. Let's go to the one where I don't have a definitive favorite or least favorite because it's just 3 fucking songs.
Yes.
I have a definitive favorite on this one. I'll say that.
Close to the edge.
Go ahead and introduce it.
Siberian Katru off of Yes's Close to the Edge.
I'm at the album.
I was telling the tune off the album.
Anyway, the album was close to the edge.
I did. It's Yes's Close to the Edge.
What about Close to the Edge? Is it Round by the Corner?
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of close to an edge right now. I'll say that.
Are we all?
That sounds like a masturbation joke. Not gonna lie.
God fucking damn it! You're not wrong.
Are we all pissing each other off? Is that what's happening here?
Maybe slightly. It's part of the fun now.
I guess better than pissing on each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're into it, I'll just do my initial thoughts, and then there'll be like my only thoughts. This album exists.
Oh, I love this album so much.
It just exists. It's not bad. It just exists. That's it.
I think this album's fantastic. As someone who has been hardened in my heart through years and years of classic rock in the car, I've been numb to so much now from like the 70s, 60s, 80s, 90s even. To find an album that I legitimately enjoy from 50 years ago that I haven't heard or really looked into, I find phenomenal.
That's a beyond fair assessment.
My favorite song of this was that guy describing the computer.
John Anderson, the lead singer.
Yeah, John Anderson with the computer shit. That was whack.
Like this is
yeah.
This touches those doom metal feelings that I like.
I can see that.
This is a precursor to doom metal. It's prog.
Yeah, like a lot of doom metal is weird prog, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's more repetitious generally, but like this is just long songs that change more because they're progressive, but ultimately kind of keep it the similar thought, similar motif, similar ideas, cycle through different ideas, or different, more immediate things.
Yeah,
like the "I Get Up" kind of refrain is all over the track. There's a section where it becomes really important, but you can kind of hear it in other places.
Oh yeah, a lot of rounds. This whole album was basically composed, I'll say that, outside of the vocals, because John Anderson just liked to get high and just let it flow off of his brain.
I'm not surprised.
And you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can tell. But yeah, a lot of this album was just composed by music nerds, and you can tell that it is just an album by music nerds for music nerds.
And I appreciate the multi-collaboration. I think I like this more than the Chris Squire album because I feel like it feels more complete, more interesting to me.
I can't even remember what I fucking think of the Chris Squire album. I mean, I'm impressed, with the compositions that they've done here. I think there are some stuff where if I actually sat down and bothered to look into them and be like, oh, cool, this is some really interesting theory that they've done. But I don't know. I don't care to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. It's definitely not for everybody.
I just get swept up in the emotion of it. Like, the I Get Up part is so good to listen to. It just, I don't know, it makes you feel good. And then, like, the organ section, the organ solo crashing in is so just, like, emotional and really makes you pay attention and listen and get excited. It
Yeah.
kind of swells within you of, like, the climax of the song.
Yeah, I totally get you. It's an album unlike any other.
And, like, part of me wants to say it feels incomplete even still because it's only 3 songs long, but we've listened to less.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If I'm correct as well about Yes, none of their founding members are still in the band, are they?
Right.
No. The last founding member that was in the band died when Chris Squire died.
I think you'd also describe Siberian Kotru as Mario Kart music, and I kept thinking about that just listening to it.
It is, and that's why I fucking love it.
I can definitely see where you're talking about. It does feel like kind of a weird Mario Kart track. This is one of those albums where they talk about like illusions and like inspiration of things. Like Lord of the Rings is dropped, Siddhartha is dropped. But does it really matter? It's all vibes. It's all feels. Like the lyrics might have some of that in there, but I feel like the lyrics, with some exceptions, are just kind of part of the experience, not meant to be like deeply poetic and like, oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, a seasoned witch of your disgrace and rearrange your liver with the solid mental grace. And achieve it all with music that came quickly from afar, then taste the fruit of man recorded losing against the hour. Yeah, it's basically nonsense.
I Get Up.
No, man, I truly understand now. Man, I just understand those lyrics, man.
I Get Down. Get Up.
This album does hit better after some substances. I will say that, but it's still wholly enjoyable off the substances.
I was also intrigued by the fact that Close to the Edge, after like the whole nature intro where it's just birds chirping and things, it just started right into like a whole polyrhythm segment.
Oh yeah,
it feels almost Captain Beefhearty in a way.
Yeah, Yes and Rush, they loved, like every prog rock band loved weird time signatures and polyrhythms.
And then it clears away into like a more traditional, I mean not traditional, then like more approachable structure after that. But it's like we just gotta get that little bit in there to kind of indoctrinate people and let them hear the good shit.
Yeah.
I wonder.
This is often.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
I was
going to say this is often just
consider their masterpiece.
Yeah, this is considered their best album. And it flips, for me, it flips 50-50 between this and Tales from Topographic Oceans.
And I'm wondering, like, when was the discussion about putting like strings and things into like rock and roll music really had, and how easy was that discussion? You know what I mean? I can just
there's no strings actually on this album at all. It's all Mellotron.
Because I was reading about that Wendy Carlos was a big inspiration for this album, actually.
What the
That's
fuck's a
cool.
Mellotron?
It is like an organ that runs off of a magnetic tape.
Huh.
But this is still. Go ahead.
That's all I was saying. Just magnets. I've got an idea.
How do they work?
The Juggalos were just Yes fans.
But even still, this album does sound symphonic. It does sound large. It sounds huge.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, like how that conversation was had, because I feel like if this was the 50s or 60s, you'd have that big pushback from like the record executives, be like, "What are you doing with all these violins and shit? Just put out the new bubblegum pop song there."
There's actually an interesting answer, and it comes from reading Ozzy Osbourne's biography.
Really?
Yeah, and he talked about how I think they were recording Tales from Topographic Oceans, but I could be wrong. But in the studio with them, they just had a bunch of cardboard cutouts of farm animals, and they were like recording in the bathroom.
How does that answer my question?
Well, it's just to show that they had a weirder grasp on everything and a more experimental approach to their sound than just
Sure.
and they definitely did not listen to record executives.
I guess that's true too. I guess I know I'm just thinking about like the sound of like what was popular in the '60s and everything, and just trying to convince people who are like, this is what sells. You know, this is a new era of like music.
Yeah, King Crimson was probably a big deciding factor because Robert Fripp worked with all of them at one point. Hell, this was the album that Bill Bruford last recorded on before he went to play for King Crimson.
Mm-hmm.
And they used the Mellotron and King Crimson, and they also did some really fucking cool covers of like Mars the Destroyer. Who wrote that one? It's just they did really cool psychedelic renditions of classical pieces.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
And I do like albums too where it really feels like they could throw anything on it. Like there were like kind of like bongos and banjos I feel like were happening on this album.
Gustav Holst is who I was thinking of.
Like you and I just kind of starts out with like a just kind of a prolonged harmonic section even, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Like I like some really well formed harmonics.
Yeah. This is just a great album.
Yes, it is.
I'm just gonna have to believe you too. I mean, like I said before, I didn't hate this record, but I maybe I'm a big prog rock fan. Maybe I was too distracted by the computer chat. Maybe it's just not for me, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think music was just different back then. Like, if Nazareth was considered metal, you know what I mean? Like the expectations were different.
I mean, thinking back on it though, I enjoy this one in Nazareth. So
in the late 70s, early 80s, Rush was considered heavy metal.
That's wild to think about. We talked about it before, but
yeah,
I think it would be interesting if we kept going down a bit more classic rock route, just to kind of like compare other albums that were around.
Oh, I plan on doing some more prog.
Yeah, like prog, but I mean, like I guess in a general sense, I like because I've been keeping track now of like albums by the years that we've been covering.
All right.
Tiny Tim.
I mean, Tiny Tim is definitely viable.
Through the tulips.
So it's just interesting kind of seeing what was popular at the same time, what was releasing at the same time, and how different they sound and how they influence different things. I like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of slotting in like Yes now into the equation is interesting to me. Let me go over to the doc and see where things are. Because we have not done an album from 72 yet, so it's good that we did.
Yes.
Because it's like, okay,
our first. This album is 50 years old this year.
We did albums that were older. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But like, this is the year before Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. But this is the year after Isaac Hayes' Black Moses. So,
yeah.
Like, it's interesting to kind of have that context of like Black Moses feels like such a different album from a different time. And then this is like happening after it.
Yeah, you're right.
Like it feels closer to like Black Sabbath in 1970, but even then, like what do you have after this? Like this is probably some kind of like, you know, prog rock kind of maybe spun off like nostalgia for the older rock and roll rockabilly stuff, and that's where you get like the Phantom of the Paradise soundtrack kind of in some ways harkening more back to that, and in some ways kind of throwing more to the theatrical side of things now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I am interested in kind of tracking a lot of this stuff because it intrigues me.
Yeah, I get you.
I like the sound a lot.
It is a good album.
I probably would have been a Yes fan if I was alive 50 years ago.
Well, there's nothing stopping you now, man. Come join the train.
Yes.
And you can understand weird memes that I post.
Which is better, though.
You still have that little period of time to not do this, Dominic. Do not join the Yes fan base.
Which is better, the video of John Anderson talking about computers or Bjork talking about televisions?
Oh, Bjork telling about fucking talking about televisions is my fucking #1 song of all time.
John Anderson talking about computers for me.
Well, I had to rewatch the Bjork video, but that was
Bjork
pretty
one
good.
is beautiful. This looks like a CT.
I mean, she's not wrong. She's not wrong either. I feel like she makes more sense than he does. I will say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my father saw John Anderson live a few years back, and he thinks he could see the weed cloud off stage. That dude, I think, is just surviving on a steady diet of hash.
Gotta survive somehow.
Yeah, I suppose so. I have no real favorites or least favorites. It's all pretty good.
Yeah, same.
Siberian Crotcher is probably my favorite, and I do not have a least favorite. This album sucks. Rocks so hard.
You heard it here first. Trix thinks the Close to the Edge album sucks.
I tripped over my tongue.
I don't know why you asked me to listen to 30 Seconds to Mars Closer to the Edge if it this week, and no other songs, but it was a painful 3 minutes, Trix.
All right.
We'll get to 30 Seconds to Mars eventually, I'm sure.
I hope not. I don't think we need to talk about Jared Leto outside of American Psycho references.
Requiem for a Dream references as well. That was the same year, so that's fine. Yeah, pre rock fame Jared Leto was the good one.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically. Anyway, and that leaves us with the Gang of Youths, Angel in Realtime.
Yeah, so Gang of Youths. I posted during the week a little bit of backstory for these two, but
finally Australia's answer to U2.
No, this is more of Australia's answers to Kings of Leon.
They're better.
So, a Gang of Youths, they're a pretty popular band in the Australian indie scene at the moment. Been around since the start of the last decade, but broke out in 2015 with their debut album, The Positions, mainly their song Magnolia, which a lot of people to this day consider not only to be Gang of Youth's best song, but probably one of the best songs of the 2010s in Australia, because it got voted in at number 6 in the Decade poll. And in 2017, they completely fucking blew up with their album Go Farther and Lightness. That was just topping the ARIA charts. They almost actually won the Hottest 100 that year, won the albums poll against Kendrick Lamar and Lord's album that year. I think they were so far ahead of those two as well. That's just how crazy big the album was in this kind of scene. Despite it not really getting much play on mainstream radio outside of Triple M, after the Hottest 100 did, it got played constantly for a week until they realized that alternative doesn't get played on mainstream radio because they want pop songs. And with those albums, there's always been kind of a little bit of a theme of it. The first album was Dave Luapepe's. He was the main songwriter. He's the main frontman of Gang of Youths. It was pretty much talking about his divorce to his wife at the time there, who was diagnosed with cancer. And it's kind of this whole kind of story, kind of talking about getting the diagnosis, the breakdown of the marriage, reacting to it, suicide attempts and shit. It gets kind of dark, and then kind of it brings back up. That's what a lot of these albums or Gang of Youths albums do. And then the next one's kind of was not so much more of a theme as it kind of was a whole kind of like getting back into the rhythm of everything. The thing I also posted as well that they did that year was a cover of the Middle East Blood, which was quite popular. The kind of big thing about that as well was that his ex-wife actually, from what I've heard, don't know how true it is because I don't think it's been confirmed outside of it, but apparently she did end up passing away due to the cancer. So this kind of this whole big fucking thing about that. And now this album's kind of a story. The kind of main theme about this is his dad's death. The biggest song that you can probably tell that on is the song Brothers, which is just a complete like 5-minute him and a piano story about his father and learning stuff about him.
The best song on the album.
You said it was the best song this week, actually.
It is the best song this week, yes.
Yeah. So there has obviously been a lot of like a big theme that I guess it resonates with a lot of people, and that's why it's been so big. Is this kind of whole like loved ones dying kind of feel that they're doing here. They are probably one of the more popular like Islander origin bands because I think they're like this. The main members of the band are kind of like all from the Samoa Fiji stuff as their actual ethnic backgrounds, or as in here, there's like the kind of New Zealand background as well. So yeah, they're a very kind of interesting band that I probably should have been talking about a lot earlier, but I wasn't actually a big fan of their 2017 album outside of a couple of songs, so I never really thought of bringing that one up. And they released this album
5 years later,
25th. Yeah, a lot of people have been waiting for it for a long time. It's here, and I don't know if I like it more than their debut, but I definitely like it a lot more than their 2017 album. That's the backstory I can give.
I will say they're also probably one of the more spiritual bands you've had us listen to.
Yes, that is definitely true. They play a lot into the spirituality. That's the word.
Yes.
In their music, which I never think that's. I don't ever go much into that style because it's not something I really resonate with. But I do think it's a thing that can be done really well in music. It's like spirituality is someone's like personal shit.
Yeah.
So it can translate to music really well, and I do think Gang of Views do translate that pretty well. Actually,
I agree. Something I thought was interesting that I kept noticing listening to this was it felt like a lot of the instrumentals were meant to be kind of uplifting and positive and bright, but they were always kind of followed by more darker lyrics that were provided an interesting contrast.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's always been the case. I mean, we go back to Magnolia, which I was talking about. That song's kind of like it probably sounds a lot more positive in the lyrics, but I'm pretty sure the whole song was actually written during a moment where the lead singer was close to killing himself. So it's kind of like, well, yeah, the lyrics might be like a whole like, hey, yeah, nothing matters. I'm doing this whole kind of shit, and it's kind of like we can do whatever you want, but it's like he's in that stage where he's about to fucking kill himself, so he doesn't care anymore. It's kind of like,
yeah,
it's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of depressing lyrics, and I do agree they do that quite a lot, but I don't think that's what makes this band so special. I think that's just what makes this band resonate with a lot of people. Yeah.
Like Brothers is a great example, where Brothers is a very simple, like acoustic-y, like kind of happy sounding track about, life, and then it's just this really interesting story about like David and his family and like the siblings he didn't know that he had because of his father's actions. And
I do like as well, like he has a voice that's probably not too distinct if you've grown up a lot with a lot of Australian music. Like my mom, who's probably a bigger Gang of Views fan than I am, loves to compare him to Tex Perkins, who's lead singer of a band called The Cruel Sea here, also another band called Beast of Bourbon, which brings us to Tism, who's done an EP that's a parody of that name called Beasts of Suburban. Going back onto this though, we don't usually get too much singers that sing in this kind of style in the indie scene too much anymore, but you do get like a lot of artists that have probably now been inspired by Gang of Views due to the success. I mean, one of the big things kind of about it that you don't notice as well is that their music does sound kind of dreamy at times in their instrumentation.
Yes, I will. Yeah, I agree with you, and I also want to say that's the reason I do not think of Kings of Leon, because I fucking hate that band.
Yeah, Kings of Leon has a couple of alright tracks, but it was definitely not fucking Sex on Fire. That song shits me.
Oh god, I hate that song. Jesus Christ.
Somebody is alright though.
But like, that's why I thought more of U2, because I can at least respect some of what U2 did, kind of that brighter sound, more hopeful lyrics, even if Bono is Bono at this point.
Yeah. It's hard to do the yeah. And it's like, am I doing Valenzuela or am I doing Bono?
Yeah. Tricks.
I like this album.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
You guys are hitting all the good points, and I'm like, yeah, this was a good album.
I've intentionally left out your favorite instrument just for you.
Yeah, the bass on here is pretty good.
Like the fucking opening to Angel of Eighth Avenue. I feel like you would have actually gotten an orgasm when the bass comes in on that.
Yeah, if I was capable of orgasming.
Yeah.
Oh, we're back to this.
But like
discussion.
if that doesn't make you, I don't think you're getting one. Then. Sorry, I think it's gone.
Yeah,
I think it's all gone. Like
it's been long gone.
Something else
like
I liked.
the fucking Dominic interrupting me when I'm trying to do my train of thought.
Sorry, I just wanted to get away from the orgasm talk, but go on.
That's what I was doing. But like with the Angel of Eighth Avenue, I do like how that kind of like my favorite part of that song is the intro, and then the rest of the song happens, and I like it. But the intro is just so good because it just builds up the instruments in this kind of layered way, and then they just all kind of hit. Like the drums after that kind of whole like background kind of ambient starting happening into it that just kicks in and it's great. Then the bass kicks in and it's fucking great. And then the fucking acoustic guitars and it's like, well, you fucking keep adding in layers, but they're just fucking great.
Yeah.
Just fucking like that song could have just been like 10 minutes of just adding in more instruments and they just would have done it well.
Yeah.
That's just how good the intro sounds on that.
I was a big fan.
I will.
Go ahead, Trix. Please talk.
I was gonna say. I will say. I really like "The Kingdom Is Within You."
Yeah, that's a pretty good track.
Yeah, there's a lot of good on this album.
Mm.
I was a big fan of 10 in the Garden, especially when the orchestral part kicked in.
Yeah, that was a song that I was surprised. So there was 4 singles that they released last year. 2 of them were originally like on a little EP of 3 songs. That's Angel of Eighth Avenue and Unison. But they had like 4 songs last year, and they all made the 200. But Unison made 199, and like Tender Garden made 113. I'm like, how did that one not make the countdown? Because like, it's really good, that song.
Yeah. It's kind of the backstory more about his father. I think it's more from his perspective, even. So the story is at least consistent throughout. And
then I like the man himself, but I think out of all the 4 singles, I probably like it the least out of all.
I do like
that's the thing. But that made like 55 or something.
I like Hand of God and The Goal of the Century.
Yeah, it's a really fucking great closer on this record. It's It kind of really slows itself down, but then like it doesn't feel out of pace.
Oh yeah, the last verse on the record is really, really good.
Mm.
When he kind of sums it all up, and like the title is like the last line of the album, it's really, really good. Like, really powerful.
Angel in real time.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. It was fitting for the moment when you're considering what he's like reflecting on and kind of what the album is supposed to be about.
Yeah. I also like Forbearance kind of going into that kind of like drum and bass style sounds that it kind of brings into there. I know a lot of artists have tried to do it and stuff like that, and might just be my brother's musical taste finally setting into me. But I do like when you get the little drum and bass kind of out of nowhere on an album and they do it well. Mm-hmm. And Forbearance kind of does that, and it's very orchestral as well during the whole time. Like it stops itself a bit for a while, but then comes back, but it doesn't feel out of flow or kind of like any disrupting on the sake of it. It's a very flowing album, and I mean, Gang of Youths always do make albums. There's never been an issue about that. Sometimes they do let the albums take a little bit more time than they actually need for what they're doing, but on here, I feel like there's a lot less filler than they put on fucking Go Farther and Lightness, which, like, there's like 5 intros on that album that go for like 3 minutes.
Damn. For 5 years that it took, I think that's really impressive.
Mm. We haven't really also talked about the opening to this album as well, You and Everything, which, yeah, I got that stuck in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not my favorite off this record, but it just sticks in my head for some reason.
That's definitely
I can see that.
Yeah. And then there's the kind of like chopped up kind of vocals happening on the In the Wake of Your Leave to kind of do the instrumentation of that. which is just kind of interesting to see him do that type of production in here. There are some moments on here which are a bit kind of like, I get what they're going for, lyrically and stuff like that. It's not like it's bad or anything. It's just like, yeah. Returner is probably gonna be my least favorite off this
Yeah, I agree.
this album, to be honest. I'm only in it for the money. I'm only in it for the change. I like the kind of self-awareness shit in it. It's just like, yeah.
It struck me as odd, I will say, considering like I guess I didn't look up the lyrics to see where it fits in with everything else. But like, it's honest, but it's also a bit, I don't know, not arrogant maybe, but
I don't think it's like arrogant or anything. I just don't think it really, like, if this is just a bonus track or something like that, or if it was on the EP and not on the on this album, I would be a lot happier, because I don't think the song doesn't deserve to exist. I just don't think it needs to exist on this record.
Yeah. With that,
I do like when this album, though. I think the highlight obviously is when it gets a bit more e-fool, and I guess that's the type of word. Like, I like songs like Unison and stuff like that, which really kind of like go into this whole dreamy, this whole kind of like dreamy vibe that goes into how it starts, and then it, the instruments build up and stuff and take you away from that. But it also helps you really focus on what he's saying. Like I'm not going too much into the lyrics because I only do remember as much as I do, but Unison with this kind of start, like, you're a long way from North Carolina now.
Yeah, that was interesting, because Australia, North Carolina, not what you'd think of.
Yeah.
Hi, chicks.
I'm here.
I mean, yeah, this is a surprising, like, a really good album for Gang of Youth to be putting out after the last one being 5 years ago, being silent for as long as they were. I don't know exactly what my favorite off here is outside. Like, I like Forbearance, but I like some of these singles a lot. There's a lot of good moments on here. I think some of the elements that I really like in albums, they properly do in this one. Like, you know how I'm a fucking sucker for contrast.
Yes.
I feel like I do it here, not as good as like a Black Country or anything. I'm going to compare every album this year to Black Country, but that's just me. But I do think they do it quite a lot, where not everything has to be a fucking moment on this record. It just allows itself to be what it's supposed to be at every time. Yeah, sometimes what that moment that they're trying, or what that sound that they're trying to do doesn't really fit. Fucking Returner, but it's a good record. It'd be a good listen. I think this week I was constantly just listening to Beach House and Gang of Youth, like, for the whole fucking week. I think I probably gave both albums like 5 listens.
I was flipping between all three of them.
And like the Yes one, I think I gave like 2 listens.
Like, I think for me, this is the best week we've had so far this year, of just overall.
I definitely agree. Like, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know where I would be ranking all my albums at the moment outside of Black Country #1, but it's like, yeah, good fucking week, and I'm probably actually just gonna go back to a lot of these songs in the Gang of Youth record. I very much enjoy it. Favorites: Angel of 8th Avenue, In the Wake of Your Leave, Tender Garden, Forbearance, Brothers as well. We haven't really talked about Spirit Boy, but I feel like Spirit Boy is just a little bit weaker of a version of In the Wake of Your Leave. Least favorite, Returner.
Favorites: Brothers, Tend the Garden. Least favorite, Returner.
I do not have a least favorite, actually, and my favorites is probably just the chunk from The Kingdom Is Within You to Brothers.
Well, fair enough.
Okay.
That's a good, like, do the math in here. 12. That's a good, like, 17 minutes worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a killer 17 minutes.
17 minutes.
Fair enough. You wouldn't add Tender Garden onto that?
Nah.
Fair enough.
All right, Trick, sum it up. What's your ranking?
My 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like it might be pretty obvious what my 3, 2, 1 is, but it is number 3, Beach House. It's just everything else is better. Number 2 is Gang of Youths, and number 1 is Yes.
Yes.
You want me to go before you, Dominic, or?
Sure.
Number 3, going to be a little bit of an upset. No one's expected this one. Number 3 is going to be Yes, Close to the Edge. Oh, act
Yes.
shocked, act shocked, act shocked, act shocked. Come on.
No! What?
Thank you.
No! How could you rate such a good album so horribly?
I for sure thought it was gonna be Gang of Youths. How dare you? God damn
Number
it.
2, this is one that, like, do I put my bias in here or anything? Fuck it. Number 2 and number 1, both Beach House and Gang of Youths. I'm fucking tying them. I'm tying them.
All right. So, as I said, I think this is the best week we've had. I like all of these albums. My number 1's pretty clear, but my 2 and 3 keep flip-flopping. Number 3, right now, I'm feeling Gang of Youths. But overall, they're still pretty high up there. So, take that with a grain of salt. Number 2, I'm going to go with Yes. Number 1's Beach House, though, obviously. I vibe with Beach House so fucking hard. It's hard for me to, like, even though I do think a good stretch of the album is not as good, I do think also I think parts of Gang of Youth isn't that great either, like, as much as the other highlights are fantastic. So I mean, they're kind of equal in that way, but Beach House I fuck with.
If Dominic wasn't gay, he would be up to the Beach House.
I don't even know what that means.
It doesn't mean anything else more than what I said.
Anyway.
I forgot to pick an album for next week.
Okay, well, I can go first then, since I'm still talking. Any objections?
Yeah, I want to go first.
Oh shit, okay.
No, you go first. You go first. I got
Alright.
nothing.
So I'm gonna pick another band I wanted to cover since I've listened to them since high school. Their last album I did not like, so I didn't pick it. But this one I want to pick. We're doing the new Foxy Shazam record, The Heart Behead You.
I do actually remember you talking about Foxy Shazam. That was when I did my 2020 countdown, actually.
Yeah, Burn came out in December 2020, and I just did not like it. It was their worst album.
Fair enough.
So we'll see how this one goes.
Trixie, you're gonna have to choose before I do. Trixie is dead.
Trix,
wake up.
I accidentally muted my mic. I'm sorry, I was talking.
Oh.
I have a physical mute on my thing. Sorry. I'm going to be doing 3 EPs actually.
Oh. Ooh, this week of the EPs is finally.
Yes, I'm going to be doing starting with Sisyphus's You'll Find It in the End. That is a 5-song EP.
All right, how do you spell?
We're going to be doing Wait by Arlie.
Arlie-Wait.
And Hippocampus's last EP, which is Good Dog, Bad Dream.
Oh, that was an alright EP. That one. I'm trying to just go into my little book of what haven't I done in a while to think of what I do here, and I could just be constantly delaying what I'm picking here as I'm still picking it live. But I mean, sometimes you're just gonna have to do that type of shit to actually, think about what you want in a good way. Decide the music, and I really thought I would have a pick by now.
Why don't you just pick the positions and just keep going Gang of Youths?
No, that feels like cheating, actually. You know what, though? I do a lot of 2022 and shit like that, and I have been meaning to go back onto some classic records and stuff like that. And I'm going to pick one which might sound a lot, when you listen to it, a lot more kind of pop rocky than you would actually assume I'm into. But I do like this album a lot. So I'm going to pick Birds of Tokyo's Universes.
University, you said?
Universes. And we're going to start our Ian Kenny rant, or my Ian Kenny rant.
Birds of Tokyo.
Universes. It's the one with the flying pirate ship as the album cover.
Gotcha.
Interesting. Alrighty. So,
Alrighty then.
to recap then, we have Birds of Tokyo, Universes. Sisyphus's You'll Find It in the End, Arlie's Wait, and Hippocampus's Good Dog, Bad Dream, if I have that correct.
You do.
And Foxy Shazam's The Heart Behead You. Alrighty then. I've been Dominic. This has been Dissonant Waves for March 6th, 2022. Throw a date on there. Why not? This is going to come out in like April or something.
Just
do your plugs, Dominic. Do your plugs.
Alright. You can find me on Twitter at DACICHOCKI. I've written for Tilting Window Studios in the past. I have a new article coming out soon. I'll talk more about it next time. You can find me on YouTube. Not really worth it though. I don't really post much. Anyone else?
I'm Riddleman. You can catch me on our website, riddlemanforkids.github.io. I also have a YouTube channel that's in the description below. I also released that album where I just slam my desk with a $5 harmonica as well in my mouth and then consider it music and put it mixed through Audacity. It's free on Bandcamp if you want to kill your ears, or send it to a friend.
Hell yeah. I have been Trix. You can catch me on Twitter at procrastinaut_. That's like procrastinating astronaut, and then an underscore at the end of it. I also have a bunch of other shit. Yeah, catch us all at Dissonant Waves on Twitter and dissonantwaves.space.
That's going to do it for us then. Hope you all have a great evening, morning, night.
Whatever it is over there.
It's whatever time here, whatever time there. Same whatever time,
Yes.
same whatever place.